Tropical Storm Barry, which has just formed in the Gulf of Mexico here with sustained winds at 40 miles an hour, and it's moving west at 5 miles an hour. This is expected to intensify as it approaches the Louisiana coast here over the next couple of days. As we look at the next 24 hours here in Tallahassee, we are going to see that rain die down overnight before building back in tomorrow, enhancing that sea breeze with southerly flow here aided by Tropical Storm Barry. The 3-day forecast for the weekend is going to show you that those rain chances are going to stick around here in Tallahassee at 89, 90, and 90 for Saturday and Sunday. Over the weekend, we are going to stay hot as well. And coming up on the show, we're going to give you in-depth detail on Tropical Storm Barry. We're going to talk about impacts, especially the rain impact, the flooding impact that's going to be occurring, and we're going to look at the forecast for it. We're also going to talk about the showers and thunderstorms that are going to be continuing here in Tallahassee, and eventually our rain chances are going to decrease once Tropical Storm Barry does lift out of the southeast region. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and pass things off to Michael here, where he's going to give you a look at Tropical Storm Barry in depth.
Yeah, thanks, Harrison. And let's take a closer look at Tropical Storm Barry. You can notice the center of circulation down into the central Gulf. Very broad circulation still, and it's been that way for its entire lifetime over the Gulf. Actually, Barry was named this morning at 11 a.m. after being a potential tropical cyclone 2 for about a day. But it's been giving these scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially along the northern Gulf Coast across the Florida Panhandle and the Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana coastline for the course of today. Now, when you look at the infrared satellite from the GO-16 satellite, you notice how there's not much convection on the northern side of the system. A lot of it has been sheared down towards the south and the west, and there's a lot of dry air on the northern side, and with that, it's not able to tighten up and get a good circulation. What that means is it's not able to strengthen that much, and that's why it's still a weak tropical storm. But in terms of the winds along the coastline, there are some breezy winds down towards New Orleans at 29 miles per hour. Here in Tallahassee, it's been a little bit breezy for the afternoon, around 15 miles per hour. But in terms of the strength right now, it has a 40 miles per hour, and it's slowly moving off towards the west. But eventually, it's going to start making that northerly turn towards the Louisiana coastline. Might become a strong tropical storm, maybe into a Category 1 hurricane. But now that's unlikely, as you can see, at around Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then once it moves inland over a weekend, once it interacts with land, it becomes a tropical depression. But the wind is not the main story about Tropical Storm Barry. It's the rainfall. And you can notice with that slow movement off towards the north, and you have those feeder bands going over the same places day after day, starting on Friday afternoon, rainfall amounts are going to really rack up for the next 5 days. 10+ inches expected down towards New Orleans. Remember, New Orleans is sitting in a little bit bowl, and Tyler and I are going to talk about that on our desk. And then out towards the northern Louisiana and southern Arkansas, they're going to get 5+ inches. And you have to remember, the Mississippi River is still high from all the flooding that happened up towards the northern part of the U.S. So flooding is going to be a major concern for Louisiana and the lower Mississippi River Valley, and for a result, we do have flash flood watches in effect for that region up until Sunday morning, and they might be extended due to the flooding that might be prolonged after Barry leaves. And you can already see it's saturated there with all those flood warnings right along the Mississippi River. Now down towards the coastline, we already have some evacuations at Plaquemines Parish, and so it's all because of the storm surge with that southerly flow coming off the Gulf. So we do have storm surge warnings in dark pink with storm surge watches in light pink, tropical storm watches and warnings in effect in red, and then we also have that hurricane warning now still in effect, but again, we're not expecting it to become a hurricane based on the latest track. That might change as we go into the next few days. And so those next 48 hours will show you how the circulation does move up towards Louisiana. And with the amount of rain we're expecting, no surprise how we're expecting a very good chance of some flash flooding. Now we're going to send it off to Tyler to take it back to our local region.
Thanks, Michael. And today we're looking at temperatures getting up to 90 degrees, just below the average, but pretty close to what we're used to this time of year. Our actual low temperature was 65, so we got a little bit cooler this morning. And over the past 12 hours, you can see how in the morning we're always pretty cool in those upper 70s. And as we move through the afternoon, those temperatures really start to pick up. And usually our high temperature will be around 4 p.m., but today we saw that rain move in around 2, so it cooled things off to around 82, then 2 and 3 p.m. And then 4 and 5 p.m. still got a little bit hotter, but our hot temperatures are really around noon today. And then zooming into the Big Bend region, local temperatures in the mid-80s all throughout. Quincy is our cooler spot at 79 degrees, and then Bainbridge getting up to 90. They're the hot spot. And then our dew points pretty muggy all throughout the Big Bend region. Really, even stretching into South Georgia, those dew points are a little bit lower, but not too much lower. And so when you mix together the dew point, which shows how much moisture is in the air, with the actual temperature, that gives us our feels like temperature. St. Mark's feels like 100 right now. They're not feeling too great, but Tallahassee a little bit better, feels like 93, but the place to be right now is Quincy. They're feeling like 83, so great day to be in Quincy. Everywhere else in the Big Bend region, not so much. It's pretty hot outside, unless you're getting the rain, but for the most part in Tallahassee, that rain has moved out. To the west, we've had some rain bands moving through, but mostly those have cleared out as well. So most of our rain was earlier on in the afternoon, but we're still seeing some scattered storms. In Lake City, all the way out to our east, we're still seeing some storms rolling through there as well. Forecast shows that tonight it's going to be a little bit cloudy, and getting into those late morning hours, actually expecting some more rain, but as we go into Saturday morning, going to be cloudy, but expect some more afternoon showers, the typical summertime pattern. And then for tomorrow, going to start off at 74 degrees, and then you might notice that the red numbers are missing in the morning and the night. That's because that's the heat index, and the heat index is what the actual temperature is, because there's not really a lot of mugginess going on. But as we get to the afternoon, going to feel a lot hotter, getting up to 98. Those rain chances are going to pick up. Then looking at the week ahead, Friday, going to keep the rain chances high at 70%. Saturday and Sunday, going to bump it down a little bit, but not too much, sitting at 60%. As we go throughout the rest of the week, we're going to notice those rain chances starting to dip down even more. And as a result of the rain chances dipping down, we're going to expect the temperatures, our highs, to get up into the mid-90s. Now, I'm going to send things back off to the desk, where me and Michael are going to talk about the potential storm surge threats associated with Tropical Storm Barry.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues going on in Louisiana with Tropical Storm Barry. First off, you have the storm surge from the Gulf affecting coastal Louisiana. You saw all those storm surge watches and warnings.
Yeah. So, but in Tallahassee, we're not really expecting to see much storm surge. The storm is moving westward away from us. We're not having to worry about it too much. It is moving towards the New Orleans area in Louisiana, and a problem with that is the levees possibly overflowing.
Yeah, so to give you a little refresher, New Orleans is actually sitting in a bowl. You have the Mississippi River south of downtown, and then you have Lake Pontchartrain on the north side of town. And so we have those levees that protect New Orleans from allowing the Lake Pontchartrain and the Mississippi River from going into what essentially is a bowl.
Mm-hmm. And so just getting all that water into the bowl is not good. We saw with Katrina how flooding was a huge concern. Now, Barry isn't quite as strong as Katrina. It's not expected to be quite as strong when it makes landfall, but still can bring a considerable amount of rain to the New Orleans region. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. If you're in New Orleans, you want to be very careful. Maybe even consider evacuation.
Yeah, in terms of freshwater flooding, we're expecting at least 8 to 12 inches in New Orleans. And remember, they already got some flooding yesterday from one feeder band that just sat over the city, and they got 10 inches from that just alone. So grounds are already saturated.
Now we're going to send things off to Zach. He's going to give us a national look.
We're going to start by looking at the temperatures. We're seeing warm temperatures, which is expected in this summertime year. We're seeing a little bit cooler temperatures, comfortable temperatures in the 70s on the west coast. But over here towards Tallahassee, we're seeing mid-80s to upper 80s and even some 90s across the region. Albuquerque at 94 there. And the big picture here, we are discussing Tropical Storm Barry sitting here in the Gulf. And we do have some severe weather in the northeast that we're going to be talking about as well that's going to be moving through there. So our Storm Prediction Center, you can see that our northeast is sort of the picture today. We have a slight risk around the Washington area, and we have a marginal risk around most of the northeast for some convective showers. So looking at our upper level water vapor, we can see Barry sort of down here circulating in the Gulf a little bit, and we can see this brown area, and that is dry air. So what that's doing is that's being traced into the hurricane, and it's actually preventing it from strengthening. So we may not actually see this storm become a Category 1 storm. It's looking like upper level to be a tropical storm. And our satellite, we can see that circulation right there. Barry's trying to form. The center is not too tight, hasn't really wrapped up too well because of that dry air that's sort of creeping around in the area. And we see all these storms sort of pushing through in the northeast. We can see that line just sort of pushing through the Washington area there. So looking into our northeast, getting a little bit closer view, we can see all sorts of watches and warnings issues. We have some flash flood watches issued around the Ohio, West Virginia area, and our dark red is actually flash flood warning. So if you're in that area, you want to be cautious of that. And remember, if you do see standing water, turn around, don't drown there. You definitely don't want to be driving on the roads. And you see some severe thunderstorm warnings there as well in most of the area. So definitely something to watch out for if you are in the Northeast today. So our Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow, we're going to start to see more of a risk around where that Tropical Storm Barry is going to start to impact land around the New Orleans area there. They're at a 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather going into tomorrow. And our tropical storm forecast, you can see Barry start to creep more towards the Louisiana coast. It's pushing westward, but this front line is actually going to be what's going to start to push it more northward and give it that track towards Louisiana. So as we continue, we can see it starting to push a little bit more northward as that front comes through, and then now it's not really going as much west. Now it's starting to go even more northward. In our future cast, we can see Barry starting to spin around, and we can expect that to make landfall potentially on Saturday night. And that's the big story that we're looking at today. I'm going to now start to pass things off to Harrison.
Thanks, Zach. And I'm going to give us a look at the last local here and what you can expect for Tallahassee over the next few days. Currently, we're sitting at 84 here in Tallahassee. It's not too hot, especially compared to what it has been recently. We've been pushing the mid to upper 90s lately, so but we do have that dew point that is high, giving us a heat index of 93 still, and we do have those southwest winds at 15 miles per hour. Again, we've got rain training in off of the Gulf of Mexico as that southerly flow brings in a lot of moisture, and with that, you do increase the rain potential. Again, we have Tropical Storm Barry here. In the last pass of the Hurricane Hunter Recon Pass that they just did, they found that the central pressure has dropped a little bit to 997 millibars. That's not official, but they just made that observation. So it does seem like Tropical Storm Barry is beginning to intensify a little bit. And you can see that here because the center of circulation is no longer exposed. The drought monitor here in Tallahassee, you are going to see we are under dry conditions, and we have a little bit of moderate drought off to our northeast here, so rain is welcome in our area. Again, we have that southerly flow off the Gulf of Mexico, helping to increase our rain chances. We're at 15 miles an hour. We're actually the high spot here in Tallahassee, 12 miles an hour in Apalachicola, only 7 miles an hour in Carabel. As we look at Tropical Storm Barry, over the next few days, it is only at 40 miles an hour right now, but we are expecting it to intensify a little bit as it nears the Louisiana coast. And right now, the forecast track from the National Hurricane Center does bring Tropical Storm Barry in near Morgan City, Louisiana, as a tropical storm with 70-mile-an-hour winds. Over the next 48 hours or so here in Tallahassee, we are going to keep that southerly flow from Tropical Storm Barry, which will keep our rain chances high. And tomorrow in the afternoon, once again, you kind of see that sea breeze starting to kick in. As we look at our rainfall potential for the next 5 days, only about 0.75 inches predicted by the WPC here in Tallahassee, whereas off to the west in Apalachicola, that'll be near 1.5 inches. So if you're off to the west, expect higher rain totals. If you're here in Tallahassee, expect a little bit lower with locally higher amounts. For the week ahead, we are going to keep those rain chances around until Tuesday, but they will begin to drop off. The only problem with that is once your rain chances begin to go away, those temperatures do start to increase here in the Tallahassee region. We aren't going to be expecting a whole lot of relief at night, 74, 75 for most of the mornings here, but that will imply that there's going to be a lot of moisture in the air. So again, not a whole lot that we're going to be able to do here to avoid the heat once the rain goes away. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on social media at FSU Weather on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you're not doing so already, you can watch us as well on YouTube at youtube.com/FSU Weather. That wraps up the show for today. Thanks for watching.